My name is Maria and I'll be your host today. I'm with Johnathan, the instructor. We also have Rika from the marketing team and Maggie from Ashton too. So welcome. We're really happy to have you today, Johnathan. How are you doing?
Doing good, thank you. Glad to be here and hopefully answer whatever questions people may have with regards to the course and the profession.
Great. We're really happy to have you today too. Please to everyone that is joining us today, even if it's from Facebook, feel free to put your comments on the Facebook Live, or if you're here right now in the webinar, please just write in the chat box. You'll find information there that Rika is gonna help us share. So we're ready to start. So Johnathan, could you share with us a little bit about your experience, your educational background, and what brought you to teaching? Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
I was muted. Absolutely. So I'm a recreation therapist. Currently, I work at the Center for Addictions and Mental Health, which is Canada's leading mental health hospital, and that is in Ontario. With regards to my background, I studied therapeutic recreation at Seneca College after doing a degree in biomedical science at the University of Western Ontario. And really what attracted me to therapeutic recreation was that it is a preventative approach towards healthcare and actualizing positive health outcomes. But it's holistic in its approach, and it recognizes the interdependency between the different aspects of health and the self. And I think that in this day and age, where we're so focused on productivity, we need to have appropriate outlets for ourselves. And that's where therapeutic recreation comes in. It's a lot more than just doing activities. So after I did my schooling and I got my honors bachelor degree, I took that, and I was actually very fortunate to be given opportunities to work as the first recreation therapist at Bellwood Health Services, which is like an addictions and rehab center. But I gained a lot of parallel experience. I guess I was very eager to learn about the field. So while I worked there during the daytime, I worked evenings doing community work with individuals that had that needed developmental supports. And then on the weekends, I worked with geriatric populations. And then I just kept gaining experience through different demographics as well as sectors. So I worked both in the public sector, the private sector. I have deep insight into administrative perceptions about the field, as well as maybe some gaps that we can be the change to create and bridge for. So that's a little bit about me. And yeah, did I answer all your questions there, Maria?
Thank you very much. It sounds like that you have a lot of diverse experience. So thank you for being here. Our attendees will get a lot from this webinar. So I wanted to ask about like the career itself and the labor market. And I believe you have a presentation that will cover that. Do you mind sharing screen?
Sure. Are you all able to see that now?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So here we have Ashton College's Therapeutic Recreation course.
Okay.
Great. I'm just gonna move around. So what is it that recreation therapists do? That's the burning question, isn't it? Recreation therapists, we are allied health professionals. And what we do is we use activity-based interventions like art, dance, or sports, for example, but not limited to those, to address and improve the well-being of individuals with illness or disability. And this actually is interesting because it extends beyond people with illness and disability. And with the new models that we're teaching, applies to anybody that's looking to improve their quality of life. And so we use a model called the Flourishing Through Leisure model that supports the development of both strengths and resources in an individual. And these strengths would be physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, social, occupational, We reinforce a person for every aspect of themselves so that they are able to become fully actualized and they feel confident and are living a greater quality of life than prior to when we were working with them. We really want people to have a better sense of who they are. Remember, when we look at recreation, it's recreation. We're redefining self-concept. We're empowering people. We're showing them that illness or disability or lack of accessibility does not have to be their life forever. There's more to life than just that. So once we learn to understand where the challenges are with a person in engaging in therapeutic recreation, we're able to then use a strength-based approach and put the person in the center and build the interventions around them so that it's relevant to the individual. So now you're probably wondering, where is it that recreation therapists work? We work everywhere. We have the potential to work everywhere. You see, we're both in the health industry and the social service industry. So there's a lot of different places that you can go. You can work in a long-term care facility, recreation centers, rehab centers, correctional facilities, youth centers, residential settings like group homes, mental health centers like myself, hospitals. And the thing is that recreation therapists typically would have gotten a degree, whereas recreation aides or leaders would have done a diploma program. Same thing with activity workers and programmers. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is recognize that there is a therapeutic component towards activities and support people in actualizing them and reaping those benefits by promoting awareness through leisure education, and then providing functional interventions, and then the actual ability to participate in those recreational activities. Here we have some statistics on the labor market. I'm sure at the end of the day, we all want to know what the median wage is, right? So the median wage is $24 in Canada, and there is good opportunities for employment. Actually, with COVID in context, we might want to change that good to great. The reality is that people are recognizing the need to having therapeutic outlets. People are recognizing the importance of being multi-dimensional, having more than just one thing to support them in managing their stress and their frustrations and expressing themselves. So we have employer requirements. Typically, an employer would require a recreation therapist to have a bachelor's degree with a specialization in therapeutic recreation. But going back, we talked about recreation aides and leaders and activity workers and programmers who would simply just need a diploma. And the major difference is just the level of context within the therapeutic skills that you'd be developing. But typically employers are looking for someone with a bachelor's degree and a specialization. So as long as you're specialized in therapeutic recreation, then you're okay. So who will benefit from these courses? Anybody. If you have a life, you will benefit from this. However, those that are internationally trained healthcare professionals, current recreational therapists who want additional training in maybe gerontology or addictions or one of the many pathways that you can go, kinesiologists or care aides, it can really be anybody. Professionally, it's these people here. But even if you're just coming into the course to learn about what you can do for yourself and the people in your life, there's a lot to get from this course.
Thank you very much. I really can feel the passion about that you have about this topic. So I was wondering, what is the course structure? What are the main topics covered in the course?
That's a great question. So depending on whether you're in the beginner course or the advanced course, we cover a few different things. And so I'll start with the introduction to therapeutic recreation. We're looking to first understand the helping nature of the service provider role. What is it that the service provider does? What does it really mean to help, right? We want to have a bit of history behind the role and its development and how it's been implemented and recognized, because it gives us a deeper appreciation for the profession. Then we look to identify disabilities and barriers for individuals and apply that therapeutic recreation lens to support us in having more focused health outcomes. Then you can expect to learn about how to identify values and beliefs conducive to providing effective service to people. This may be with regards to leisure awareness, leisure attitudes, leisure as a working definition, but also we want to recognize that in the world that we live in now, there is a great amount of diversity, right? And in any workplace, I'm sure you've all heard it at this point. How do we promote diversity in the workplace? Well, it's by recognizing and respecting our individual differences, right? It's about recognizing that my background and your background may be different, regardless of like what I'm talking about. Background may be from age, race, religion, gender, political views, whatever it may be. We're able to identify these values. It gives us cultural awareness, cultural sensitivity, and most importantly, cultural humility, so that we're able to better connect with these people and build therapeutic rapport so that there's better service delivery and there's more acceptance to what it is that we're trying to do with the people that we're working with. Remember, with therapeutic recreation, recreation is still there, meaning it's meant to be fun. So if you're looking to connect with a person, but you have a wall in front of you because your inability to recognize what other people value, then that's going to be to a detriment. That's why we recognize its importance and we place such a great emphasis on it in the course. Aside from the values, we're also defining professionalism as it relates to the helping role. What's professional? I mean, aside from the obvious, we also want to make sure that we're doing things in a way that's trauma informed and respectful, right? And when you come into the course, we're really going to hash this out so you're aware of all the different ways that you can be a great team member and a great practitioner as well. We then are going to compare and contrast the various therapeutic recreation conceptual models and recognize the importance of using a model in the first place in our practice. Models are very validating. Models are evidence-based. And so when you're, sorry.
No problem.
It was just a code. But we teach this because it's very important that you're understanding why we do what we do. When we talk about the models, you gain a better appreciation of the development and the progression. And then you feel confident as a recreation therapist or recreation aide in saying, I'm drawing from these principles and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, rather than just saying, I'm just doing it because it works, right? You're drawing from a model. It gives you more validity. We're then comparing and contrasting various living option levels and adaptability. So how we can adapt an individual's interventions or plan of care to ensure that it is as inclusive as possible and removing as many participation barriers from that individual so that they can have the greatest quality of life. We then identify the purpose of a team approach and how to work within various healthcare teams. Because within this industry, within this sector, we have transdisciplinary team approaches, we have interdisciplinary team approaches, we have multidisciplinary team approaches. They're all very different. So when you come and you learn about this, then you're better able to recognize what type of approach that your workplace or your organization prefers and how to direct your practice through that expectation. Lastly, we define issues that affect job-related stress with regards to the role of the helper. I mean, how many of you have heard about caregiver burnout, right? I mean, we all have. When we can recognize these things and we can put preventative practices in place to support us in continuing to do the great work that we do. for longer without feeling negative feelings about it. So that's what we talk about in the introduction course. The advanced course, we're kind of going a little bit further. We're going a bit deeper. It's going to give you more information with regards to the therapeutic skills and the actual therapeutic recreation process. We draw from the leisure ability model and the flourishing through leisure model. And all of this is directed through an API process. So API is an acronym. We talk about assessments, we talk about planning, implementing, how to evaluate, how to document. And this gives you a great sense of confidence with regards to each individual component of what we do as recreation therapists. And I think also we cover adaptations, interventions for leisure. We talk about risk assessments, the emphasis of professional judgment. Ethics is a whole lecture on its own, as well as the employment of like purposeful modalities and facilitation techniques. This is important because at the end of the day, what we do is we do a lot of one-to-one work, but we do a lot of groups as well. So we really want to ensure that you have strong group facilitation skills, strong interpersonal skills, and a good command of and a good working command of group dynamics, because we're working with people, right? So we want to teach you how to work with people in a way that is respectful and will get the most engagement out of them. Trust me, this job can be extremely rewarding. It can be a lot of fun. It's up to you to recognize that. And I will teach you, and Ashton College will teach you through these great courses exactly how to feel what I'm feeling when you go into work every day. Trust me, this is very important. Knowledge is power, and we're providing you with a great level of insight with regards to each of the components of this profession that you would need to succeed.
Great, thank you very much. It sounds like it's a really complete program, and I really like what you said about the caregiver burnout, because the program not only teaches you how to interact with others, but also how to take care of yourself, so it can be a long-term job and commitment, and you can enjoy it as long as you can.
That's right.
So how is your teaching style?
Well, I mean, everyone has their own teaching style, but for me personally, just with the nature of my work, I've naturally taken on a bit of a constructivist approach. And so the constructivist approach, it's meant to be more inclusive. I'm looking to learn from my students as well. I mean, as much knowledge as I have to give you, I can only learn so much from what I know. And so when you come and give me real world challenges and circumstances and situations, and I'm better able to teach relevant to the direction that maybe you're going. Constructivist approach allows me to recognize that we all have individual experiences, and I want to bring those experiences into the classroom. I mean, in terms of background, I was born in Norway. I'm Sri Lankan heritage. I have a lot of different things about me that have shaped my perception and understanding of things. I'm sure Maria, you also have a diverse background, and I'm sure very colorful as well. And so when we imagine a classroom full of 10, 15 people, different perceptions, different attitudes, different understandings, we can have a much more complete lesson plan when we get full engagement. So I really believe in engagement. I'm not the kind of professor that's just going to be reading off a slide to you. I prefer to get you all engaged. So I employ a lot of game-based learning and active engagement strategies within my lecture to make it fun. And we have more of a discussion. We're talking, because this is the best way to gain insight into challenges and questions, so that we can answer things that are relevant to you and not just what the course has to teach.
Going with that engagement part, what are your expectations of students? How much time do they need to commit for this course?
I mean, it's really up to the individual student how much time that they want to put into the course. But I mean, from what I've noticed, the more time that an individual puts into something, the greater understanding and command that they would have of it. Typically, the lecture is 3 hours. and it's quite intensive with regards to like, discussion and things like that. So it's great if students come to class prepared with working understanding and context. So usually that could be like 1 to 3 hours of reading, just depending on how much or like what you need to work through in order to come to class with information prepared. However, it would be about 3 hours at most outside of lecture time.
Okay. So what would a successful student would look like? What does success looks like in this course?
Success is through communication, communicating when there is a misunderstanding or when a concept is not properly grasped, communicating in terms of correspondence, following up with regards to emails, assignments, tests, making the effort to understand what you could have done better, and maybe what to try differently for next time, or just having these or making use of actual opportunities that provide. So as like I said, I really depend on my students to provide me with some level of transparency so I know where they're at as well. I never expect a student to meet me where I am. I always meet the student where they are. And then we come up together and we learn together. So as long as a student is open and communicative and transparent and engaging, then they will succeed in the course and in life, right? The most important thing to do is to make sure that you're communicating so that we know where there's things that are going wrong and we know where there are things that are going better and what we can do to bring everything up at the same time.
That is really good to know, because right now that we are in an online environment, how you communicate with the professor is really important. Um, so going to the days where you were a student, what do you wish someone had told you about therapeutic recreation?
That's a pretty good question. You're making me think a little far back now. Uh, I'm like traumatized from all those papers I had to do. No, I'm just kidding. What I wish I was told was about the directions that you can go, and I guess the difference in earning potential. So when you work in mental health, of course you're putting yourself maybe at a little bit more risk, but with the right skills, you're safe. There's a huge divide. I mean, like when you're working in like a long-term care center here in Ontario, you may be making $19 an hour. But when you're working in a mental health hospital, you could be making up to 35, 36. So it's the same job. I wish someone told me that a bit earlier. But that's really about it. I mean, like the knowledge is fantastic. I feel great with this because it not only reinforces my zest for life, but it shows me that I can take this outside of work, right? And it's not just to apply it to people that you work with, but how you apply it to yourself. And I'm proud to say that I'm living proof that therapeutic recreation will give you a great life. When I wake up in the morning, I look for opportunities and to feel good. Really, we're just chasing ways to feel good all the time and have positive ways to express ourselves. At the time when I was in school, there wasn't as much of a working definition of therapeutic recreation. This may date me a little bit. That's okay. But the reality is that therapeutic recreation is growing as a field. And I wasn't told that back then. Being an unregulated profession, we have so much potential for growth, and we're moving towards becoming regulated and recognized through every service sector. So just keeping that in mind, if you feel like there's not a lot of opportunity, there certainly is. And just to ensure that depending on the population that you want to work with, taking a bit of extra time to recognize how you can create your job for yourself, because no one else really has an existing template of what a recreation therapist is expected to do.
It sounds like it's a really flexible job, and that you can really create your path aligned with your passions and what you are really looking for in life. So that's That's wonderful. I think
Mhm.
just hearing from you, you sound so excited and happy, and that's great because that's what our jobs should do, just fulfill ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, so, what should you kind of touch a little bit on the job market after uh, in therapeutic recreation, but what should students expect once they graduate from this course?
The expectation is that you're going to have to prove yourself a little bit by maybe like I guess like putting a bit of skin in the game. Like you do have to pay your dues. Um, Even if I wanted to work in mental health right away, I don't think I would have been able to. You need to start somewhere, right? And so get your skills, and know when it's time to move on if that's your choice. That's going to be very important, right? Um, Maria, sorry, what was the other part of your question?
It was mainly about what can students expect
Students
from,
can,
yeah.
yeah, students can expect like a couple years where they may have to find like their niche with regards to how they're going to practice itself. And so sometimes that might be better to do with a population that is not as like dynamic with regards to their mental state and things like that. Once you found your preference, like um, for me, I'm also like a wellness coach. And I'm big into fitness and things like that. I'm very inclined towards like the physical activities. So a lot of the programs that I run are based off of using the body. But one of my coworkers, she's fantastic. She's completely different than me. She's expressive arts, she's painting, dancing, this and that. And so most of her job, like her job is doing those kinds of things. Find your niche. Find your niche because that's going to separate you. That's going to make you less general and more directed towards one thing. So you could be a recreation therapist with a specialty in music. You could be a recreation therapist with a specialty in mindfulness or physical therapy or things like that, right? So take some time to learn where your skills are best utilized and how they're best utilized through which domain of recreation. And then from there, it'll give you a great place to branch out and diversify.
That is really interesting because, as you mentioned, like everyone has different passions, and then you can just adapt your career with that. Um, Going from that, how can students make like the most of the career in terms of how they find that passion? How can they um, go into see where do they want to specialize? Yeah.
I would say that, well, that's a very good question, actually, Maria. You know, like having some exposure to different clinical placements, for example, will give you deep insight into maybe which populations you do and don't want to work with. I mean, personally, I really enjoy working with children and I really like working in addictions. But if I had to choose between the two, I really prefer addictions. Um, what and the reason is because I spent quite a bit of time looking through the different, um, like I guess the different streams that I could have gone to, and I did a placement in a long-term care center. I did a placement at a mental health hospital. I did a placement at a group home. I did a placement working kind of like just doing like subcontract kind of work, and so it's very interesting to know like the different directions that you can go with this. Really, I would just recommend that you take the time to consider different places and don't just get comfortable with a co-op placement because one went well and you don't want to see what you might look like if you don't do well. Put yourself out there. You might find that you really enjoy the place that you least expected. That's the best thing I can say. Don't go into this closed-minded. Go in with a beginner's mind and see all the things that you can get from each of your placements.
Okay, that's a great advice, especially because in that way you can kind of try what you like, and then of course not all the time we will like everything. So then just kind of right direct your path and find what you really enjoy doing.
That's right.
And just so this is kind of like an off-topic question so students can get to know you a bit more and see how your personality is. So what
Okay.
are you currently reading right now, for fun
Oh,
or for learning?
okay. Well, you know what? It's a bit of a heavy book. It's called Homo Deus by Yuval Harari. And Yuval Harari, he wrote a book called *Sapiens* in the past, and he's an anthropologist, and he's a homosexual Hebrew anthropology professor. Now, when he wrote that first book, like coming out, like there was a time when, acceptance was not as like open as it is now. And so he was writing about things that was like where we came from as people. And to accept that from someone like him at that time was very controversial. Now he's celebrated. He's an amazing person. And Homo Deus talks about where we were as people in the past, how we got to society today, and where we're going in the future, based off of technology and advancements and how we're integrating technology into our physical bodies. So it's a big read, but it's very fascinating as well.
Sounds really interesting. I will definitely check it out. I
Mhm.
have not heard of it, and it sounds like it's a really really good book.
Mhm.
Um, I just want to check with Rika to see if we have any questions from our participants.
Hey guys, great info session. So we do have someone popping in over on Facebook, and they're asking, I'm changing careers and have no prior knowledge or experience in healthcare or human services. Do I need prior knowledge to this course? I guess they're asking if coming from a totally different field, are they still going to be able to survive this course?
You would definitely be able to survive this course. I can understand your apprehension if you haven't really had too much background in healthcare in the past. However, all of these things we kind of cover in our courses, at least with regards to what's relevant for you to know. If you wanted to get more information on things like diseases of the body, anatomy, physiology, like things like that, you totally can. But we, as recreation therapists, we're not in, we don't do reactive care, right? So we don't wait for someone to get sick. We don't deal with illness. We deal with the person. So we're teaching you therapeutic skills that involve an individual. And although we may have to understand what like a diagnosis may cause an individual to present as, or like fluctuations in behavior and maybe limitations and things like that, that's the extent of the knowledge that you would need to know. You don't need to have a working command. So you wouldn't need to know, oh, like hurry, get an EpiPen, hurry, like code blue, like things like that. No. But all the things that you learn in the course will give you enough confidence that you're able to properly engage with the people and feel good about the work that you're doing, without feeling like you're missing something.
Great, thank you very much for that answer. Um, so I just want to invite Maggie from our admissions team. Hi, Maggie.
Hey Maria, it's beautiful there. Hey, thank you very much. And Jonathan, it's really exciting to know all this information. I like what you've said about the meaning of recreation, which is completely relevant to an individual needs. Thank you for sharing that. And hello, everyone. My name is Maggie from Admissions for Continuing Education. And to our potential students out there, Ashton College offers 2 courses for therapeutic recreation on a live online format. The first one is the Introduction to Therapeutic that will start on July 7, 2021 till September 15. The course is 3 hours per week to attend live webinars, and it's once a week session that is every Wednesday from 5 till 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The registration fee for this course is $620. The second one is a Therapeutic Recreation Advance that will start on May 13 till August 12, 2021. And the course is 3 hours per week. That is every Thursday from 5 till 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The registration fee for this course is $800. There are no admission requirements. You only need to register to be automatically enrolled, and students will get a certificate of completion at the end of the course. Please visit our website at ashtoncollege.ca, and this is under Continuing Education Human Services. Your questions are important to us, so please reach us via email at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca or call us at 604-891-1256. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you very much, Maggie, for the information. Kind of to close up, do you have any final words of advice, Johnathan, that you would like our students to know?
I just want to encourage you all to maybe even give it a chance if you're not sure. This is the type of course that you won't ever regret taking. It's not something that's like a math or something where you're worrying about where will I be able to apply this. If you can't apply it in your professional life, you can apply it in your personal life or vice versa. There's so much transferability in this course. And what I also want to say is that if you're not even interested in recreation therapy, but you just want to make yourself stand out from the crowd, from maybe everyone else that has the same credentials as you, this is a unique, interesting, and very engaging, it's a very engaging knowledge to have. When you have this, it's going to set you apart, because when we talk about facilitation skills, interpersonal skills, group dynamics, and all these wonderful things, you're going to be the life of the party of your team. People are going to really enjoy being around you. And because it's not just your personality, but what you're providing. And this goes everywhere. So if you're on the fence, I really encourage you to try it. It was one of the best decisions I made, even after going to university for getting my degree in biomedical science. And it's where I'm choosing to work full time now because of all the autonomy and potential that the job has. I also want to add that because we're not completely regulated yet, you can go and work as part of wraparound services with any other allied health professional that does community work. And you can subcontract, you can do a lot of things. With this knowledge, there's a huge amount of potential for you to make money, for you to make lasting changes in people's lives, and for you to feel good about the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this great info session. It was really fun talking to you. For our attendees, just one more time, I'll give you the information. If you have any questions, you can email us anytime at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.com or call at 604-891-1256 or the toll-free 1-866-759-0606. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope you join the course.